Hello, all, and welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today, I'm going to have a little quick discussion in regards to gentrification. Gentrification is obviously, and I will read the definition word for word. Gentrification, at the end of the day, is a process of renovating and improving a house or a district so that it conforms to the new upper and middle class taste that a specific city and area is looking to attract. And gentrification is happening throughout the United States. It's been going on for probably the last 20 to 25 years, according to my research. And you don't have to obviously quote me on that. You can do your own research when it comes to these things, but it's been happening for a long time in a lot of major cities, and it's forced a huge influx of people to move to different areas. And then a lot of this, of course, has to deal with economic downturns because we do live in a boom and bust society in the United States of America. So, that's a major contributing factor when it comes to gentrification. But with the properties value going way, way low, it just gives more incentives for developers to buy that property for cents on the dollar, put a lot of money into it, time and energy into it, put a lot of resources and develop partnerships with a lot of major corporations in order to bring different franchises into the community. Excuse me. And then it gives the opportunity for them to obviously make a profit. And then, because I always say it's like gentrification is like capitalism. It's a system of winners and losers. So the winners obviously the ones who buy the property, and the losers are the ones that can't afford to live in those properties anymore, even though they've been living there for generations and generations. So a lot of times with gentrification, you have a hard time having a community. And nowadays people move in a lot. It's just the norm. There was a time in the United States where people didn't move that much. It's like maybe once or twice in their life. But now it's just the norm, given the fact a lot of people chasing their dreams. You have a lot of people that can't afford to live in a specific place anymore, or then the jobs are going here, so therefore you got to go where the jobs are. Obviously, if you're, or if your business isn't doing so well, maybe your business would do great someplace else. I remember meeting a couple. They had a business in Atlanta. It didn't work, and it was doing great, but then when the economy went, then they ended up moving to the Northern Virginia area, opening up a Chick-fil-A in Crystal City. Nice couple, and I guess they were on the waiting list to become operators of Chick-fil-A for a long time, like almost 7 years. And they finally got the call, but they said, "Hey, we need you to open up in this area." So they moved from Atlanta, Georgia, moved to Northern Virginia. So it's interesting to say the least. But back to gentrification, because a lot of times it actually affects business owners at the same time too, because a lot of times you have business owners that have been there for generations. I mean, that's one thing I can appreciate about the Northeast, being part of the United States, from New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. A lot of people in those areas have had generations of family businesses, and it's that generational wealth where they're passing down the family business to the son, the daughter, etc. But a lot of times those family businesses are very authentic, and that authenticity of those businesses keeps it, in a sense, the authenticity of those neighborhoods. But if you're not willing to change with the times and make those businesses more millennial friendly, i.e. having charges for computers or any electronic devices, cell phones, tablets, etc., making it feel like more of a mellow atmosphere, a comfortable atmosphere where people want to hang out and spend their money. If you're not really on that, atmosphere, then your business could be hurt, because a lot of those big chains are coming to the neighborhood and people can't afford. They prefer those big chains over the mom and pops, and then the mom and pops can't afford to stay in business anymore. So like I said, it's a game of winners and losers, and majority of the cities that are affected by capitalism, not capitalism, because everybody benefits from capitalism. The majority of the cities that are going through gentrification and that have gone through gentrification are New York City, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Los Angeles, California, Seattle and Tacoma, Washington, Newark, New Jersey, Dallas, Texas, and Austin, Texas. And Houston, Texas is next on the list to be gentrified. Now, the crazy thing is, most people will move down south because of less taxes and whatnot, but even in the south, they have their quote-unquote expensive areas to live in. So just like living in this area, more and more people are moving an hour to 2 hours outside of Washington, D.C. A lot of people are having to do the same thing when it comes to Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, and Houston, Texas. because especially after with the floods that happened in Houston, Texas, because of the hurricanes, a lot of those properties are not going to be able to be revitalized, or they've been bought by somebody else because whoever the previous owners were of those properties doesn't want anything to do with it. They're done. They got their insurance check and they rolled out. So they ended up, a lot of people are ending up buying the properties, re-renovating the properties, and then essentially jacking the rents up to the point where people can't afford to live there, and they're having to move to the counties outside of the city of Houston, limits. That's the power of gentrification. At the end of the day, because it happened in New Orleans. In Hurricane Katrina. In 2005, a lot of the neighborhoods that were prime real estate, especially the ones that were literally on the Gulf Coast areas, they were bought up by developers, and those new developers purchased those properties, and they raised the value of the properties. So therefore, the cost to buy those properties and to rent those properties went sky high, and a lot of people have had to move to other parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Texas because it's considered quote unquote cheaper. I never thought I'd hear the day or see the day where living in New Orleans is expensive, but to the South standards, it is. And I show you in DC was one of the major cities. I remember the gentrification process really started in 2004-5 time frame, and I grew up in this area, so that's why I grew up in Northern Virginia. So that's why I'm showing you the different examples of not only the medium home sales prices, but I'm actually showing you what the medium rent is and actual what's expected to be the medium income for one to even somewhat try to be able to survive in DC, Washington, DC, the District of Columbia. And see the different areas. You have Columbia Heights, Eckington, Navy Yard, Northeast, and you see the price goes up to $716,000 for a home in Washington, DC. Exactly. It's expensive. So, and I always say that because one of my favorite cities in America is Los Angeles, and here people always say, "Oh, it's expensive there." I say, "Yeah, because the price of living is just going down in the DMV, the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia area. It's just getting so cheap, as you guys can see right here." But anyways, I digress. And you can see these specific areas. It's just 500, 450,000 is the cheapest price. That's the cheapest price. So a lot of people have been forced to move out of Washington, D.C., and they've even moved to Northern Virginia, or they moved to Maryland, because that's the power of gentrification. And then even the cost of living in Maryland and Virginia is quote unquote getting expensive for people. So a lot of people are either moving to Pennsylvania, moving either deeper into Maryland, or they're moving deeper into Virginia, or some people even live in West Virginia and they commute to DC and other parts of Northern Virginia to go to work every day. That's the power of gentrification when people can't afford to live someplace. It's real. and commuting is real. So, and even the gas companies are profiting off of gentrification, and the people who are mechanics are profiting off of gentrification, because if you have to put more wear and tear on your vehicle, you got to get more maintenance done to it. And we live in a time now where most of the newer vehicles that are being made, you can't take it to a backdoor mechanic anymore. So you have to take it to the shop. Unless it's just something simple like changing a tire or oil or something to that effect. But when it comes to real work, you have to usually take it to the professional. So that's the power of gentrification. Winners and losers, just like capitalism. Just think about it. Something to think about, because even according to various articles that I've read, 95% of the salaries have gone up in the United States, but the way those salaries going up have not met inflation. That's why it's stressed so much for people to get their own business, get a side hustle. You don't even have to be 100% owner in the business, but just get some stake in some sort of a business and a side hustle, because even if you make $100,000, it's not what it used to be in the United States. Especially if you have mountains of debt, from student loan debts, from childcare debts, to whatever kind of debts, hot medical, debts. It's not what it used to be. And the mindset of just, I'm going to work one job my whole life and that's it. I say it once and I'll say it till the day I die. It's dead. It is a dead phenomenon, and you have to get with the program, because a lot of people who were affected by gentrification, and I know in a lot of instances it was just rushed. It just came in like a wave, and people weren't prepared. And that's what it is. You have to be prepared, and you have to be willing to think outside the box. I always say this: get more excited about your money than you do about a sports team winning a championship. I'm just putting it out there. Because if you got more excited about getting your money right and keeping your money tight than you did about a sports team winning a championship, just imagine the possibilities of where your life could go, and how you could possibly not be affected by gentrification, because you're economically preparing yourself on a regular basis, and you're training your mind to think from an economic perspective. Just something to think about, And before I end this video off, it's a real thing, and a lot of major cities are being affected by it. Even in Detroit, one of the most economically depressed cities within the United States, you have people buying up the properties 5 cents on a dollar, and they're revitalizing the city. But guess what? For the most part, the generations of people that live there, if they don't own the property, eventually they're not going to be able to afford to live there anymore. So that is the power of gentrification. Eventually, I guarantee you, if Detroit continues to become a revitalized mecca city, eventually the generations of people that live there are not going to be able to afford to live there. So it's just something to think about. So from the Midwest, down south, East Coast, West Coast, we all have to change our mind to saying, okay, it's cheap to live there. Stop. Because eventually it won't be. Don't get comfortable. The comfort zone can be a dead thing, very deadly for you if you're not prepared. Like I said, the difference between rich people and working people and poor people is that rich people make their money work for them, and they're not always working for it. So therefore, they don't have to worry about gentrification, because they create gentrification and they laugh at it in its eye. So something to think about. Hope you guys liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you get a chance. Also, please subscribe to my Larry's Anything Goes website, and please subscribe to my YouTube page, and please share the video so we can continuously expand the conversation. Thank you, and have a good day.